and made the U.S. very proud. The members of the Tier 5, the gold medal winning U.S. Olympic team, Gabby Douglas, Ali Rexman, Jonathan Hooper, and of course the 2008 all-around champion from Beijing, Nadia is here.
Plus, we have members of the U.S. men's Olympic team here as well. Danelle Leyva inspired us all with his Olympic bronze medal in the all-around in London. He's here to perform, and he is joined by his 2012 Olympic teammate and 2008 silver and bronze medalist, Jonathan Gordon. As well as another great gymnast, 2012 U.S. team alternate, Chris Brooks, and he's exciting to watch.
So an incredible time for the U.S. gymnastics coming off of great Olympic Games, and also it's an exciting time for U.S. figure skating because they are gearing up for the 2014 Winter Games. Peggy?
I know, that's right, Nadia. Most of the skaters you will see here tonight may very well be vying for a spot on that 2014 U.S. team. It will also include the reigning U.S. national champion Ashley Wagner and some up-and-coming talent who we may see in Sochi, such as Gracie Gold, Adam Ribbon, and the ice dancing team of Maya and Alex Shubatani. So also here, a roster of United States champions that includes Jeremy Abbott, Merrill Davis, and Charlie White, and Alyssa Sisney. An amazing cast of skaters teaming up with a wonderful cast of gymnasts here tonight.
One commonality between these two sports, of course, is music. And today we'll see performances by two of the biggest music sensations out there, the Fresh Beat Band and R5.
And tonight's show is not one, but two shows. First, the one you will see tonight, and the other is the broadcast of tonight's show, which will air on NBC Saturday, January 19th. And then it will again air on a brand new cable network, Access, in February.
Okay, and because this is a TV special, some of our skaters, I'm not sure if gymnasts, no, will come out after our finale to redo some of their tricks and jumps to be perfect for television. So if you could please stick around after the show and cheer them on, they would be very much appreciated.
Now, as the ladies mentioned, this is a television special, so we're going to need a little help from you all. We'd like you to give a big shout out to the folks who will be watching from home. So if we can all together, on the count of three, let's give them a real big cheer. Ready? 1, 2, 3!
Enjoy the show.
Hey, we'll do that one more time. That was great, but we can do even better. 1, 2.
Records are made to be broken, but Nadia Comaneci's never will be erased. At the 1976 Olympics, the 4'11", 14-year-old Romanian became the first gymnast to score a perfect 10 in Olympic competition. She would receive a total of 7 10s in Montreal, but the first came on the uneven bars in the team competition. The world would remember her as the first ever 10.
10. So the original Bo Derek is Nadia Comaneci.
That's nice.
That is such a thrill. That particular score, how has that really changed your life? I mean, they affiliate you as the first Olympian to ever get that perfect score.
Well, it's, you know, it kind of defines everything I do because of that moment. You know, people remember that. They don't necessarily remember how many medals I won in those Olympics, but they remember the 10, which actually wasn't a 10 because the scoreboards were not even ready to show a 10, and you know, a lot of people remember that watched those Olympics that the score came up as a 1.00, which was pretty much confusing to me and a lot of other people in the arena. And I think that's what remain in a lot of people's mind, that association with the 1.00 perfect 10, and being the first to score that in Olympic history, and being the youngest to do that will be something that it would be a record that's not going to be broken, because this is it.
You're closely aligned with Bela Karolyi, and he found you. Was he looking for somebody like you at the time when he really was trying to get his program going?
Actually, I was doing some gymnastics already before Bela saw me, and he decided to be a part of the group that he and his wife put together in a little city of Onești. I think it started as a playtime. It was not necessarily, you know, let's do this because we want to go to the Olympics.
Yeah.
It was a playtime. I liked it, and I got to travel with a lot of my teammates in places that my parents couldn't afford to send me, and that was the best thing out of the sport. And then on the top of that, you know, I started to win some competitions before the Olympics, and some people started to notice us, and very curious about Romania. Where is Romania anyway on the map? And that's how it started.
You find your way ultimately to the Olympics in Montreal. Did you had successes? Was there a high expectation for you at the Olympics at the time?
I had success a year before at the European Championships, but that's kind of more European. There was not a international boost, and I didn't grow up being on a cover of all the major magazines a year before the Olympics, when what actually happens now, so people can identify with the people who are supposed to win the Olympics. So I just came out of nowhere for a lot of people.
And really, just for the camera's sake, you won several medals that year. And what were they in '76? The number of medals that
I won 5 total in '76, 3 gold, 1 and 1. And 2 gold and 2 silver in '80, the next games.
Was there a point where you said, gee, I've accomplished all I can do in the Olympics, and decided to go to teaching and other things?
I knew when I was going to do that move. Actually, I knew that the 1980 Olympics were the last ones. I still stuck with the sport because I did a lot of gymnastic exhibitions, like things like that, you know. We've done a lot of skating and gymnastic shows. And I think you need to be prepared to do that. I like the philosophy of, you know, being able, people to remember you when you were right there on the top. And I think it's better to miss you instead of saying like, wow, is she still around?
Well, you know, what you and Bart have done so many years afterwards with all the charity work that you do, and particularly muscular dystrophy, isn't it?
Yeah, we do some work with Muscular Dystrophy Association, and some work with Special Olympics. I think it's important to us because we feel like we can contribute, and with the awareness in associating ourselves with that, and all of the people that we do charity with are part of the family, so we know everybody. And we use sport as a tool to change the world, and because this is what we know.
Yeah.
And it feels good to be able to give back. And you know, I think it's good to choose 2-3 things that you can put some dedication into it, because it's really difficult to be associated with 20-25 charities in the same time.
You grew up in a communist country. How much did that impact the growth, the gymnastics, the sports? Was there just what was the priority of it all?
I don't know what's the difference between growing up in a communist country and growing up, you know, here, and how now I see how kids start playing sports, it was available. Gymnastics. I was lucky that gymnastics was available for girls.
Yeah.
There are not too many sports available for girls, and that there was very close to my house, and it was really convenient for my mom to sign me up and to say, "Yeah, why don't you do all those jumps in a gym instead of doing in the house and destroy the furniture?" So it was just out of pure, spend my energy somewhere.
When the communist government changed over, did that impact your family at all?
I was here when I left Romania a little before that changed.
And that was quite an experience you had. Just
yeah, it was a chapter of my life that it was a big decision that I had to make, and to leave my family behind. But it's changed. Things are different. Romania is a free country. I go back and I have foundation, Nadia Comaneci Foundation, that I do some work for kids there and some commitments that I have, and I go back about 5-6 times a year. So I'm very connected with my country of origin because, on the top of everything, I'm a Romanian and an adopted American, let's put it this way.
so you, Bart, got married there, right?
Yeah, we got married there in '96.
Was that symbolic, or was that something that you wanted to go back to your hometown?
No, we thought that we couldn't do the wedding anywhere else but in Romania, because the Romanian people would feel like I took away the happiness of me being happy.
Yeah. Did you tonight? You'll be commentating on a joint gymnast skating show. What do you see are the similarities of the athletes, the gymnasts and the skaters, and maybe the differences?
I think that both sports are very popular in the Olympics, the Summer Olympics and Winter Olympics. It's the similarities that they, that's a lot of the same artistry and sensibilities and what the gymnasts and skaters are doing. In the same time, you can see very difficult hardcore elements. I like the combination between the two of them, and this idea of putting together a gymnastic equipment on ice, it's very unique, and we've done that for many years, and we know the people like it. So,
It's also one of the sports, the Olympic sports, where the female is much more. The female competitors are much more popular in both gymnast and ice skating. They get a lot of more attention than really the males. It's just a fact. I mean,
I don't know. It's hard to say that you find a few sports where female get
That's right.
most of the attention. It's because probably the female gymnasts and skaters have more stars. But it's relative because, in Japan, for example, it's male gymnastics is more popular because they have stars there. So it has to do with where the star is. Yeah.
You're very articulate.
Thanks.
No, you're just wonderfully so, and I've enjoyed listening to you commentary throughout. What's next for you? What's Nadia Comaneci like to do next?
Next, enjoy the Christmas with the family. And we're just looking forward to finish this year. We have lots of things on the plate. This was a very important year for everybody because it was an Olympic year, and we were in London for 3 weeks. There was a lot of fun, but we don't think about 2013 now until December 31st is done.
Yeah.
We have a 6.5-year-old, so that's pretty much the center of our attention, and we'll be in a world of sport. I mean, gymnastics is what we know, doing promotions, doing speaking, and for as long as we can.
What's the message you mostly give to the young gymnasts? So if you go out there and there's little 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds just wanting to say, my gosh, Nadia Comaneci, talk to me.
Just have fun, love what you do, enjoy the moment, and it's kind of a saying that you shouldn't feel sorry about the things you've done. You should be sorry for things you didn't do. So you just do everything you can. Enjoy it.
There's a popular song came out about you, Nadia's song.
Oh yeah.
Did you ever do a routine to that?
No, you mean the Nadia's theme?
The 30th theme,
I
yes.
did perform in some exhibitions.
Yeah.
And actually, I met the guy who wrote that, Barry DeVorzan.
It's
Yeah.
well, it's terrific, and obviously that it evokes much about you, and well, you're a real credit. You're a credit to the Olympic movement, and I know you got a special award from the Olympics, didn't you?
The Olympic Order?
Yeah.
I got that twice, actually.
My gosh.
So that's nice.
Well, this has been great. I've taken up a lot of your time, but thank you, Nadia.
Thanks.
And welcome to Jamestown. And,
Yeah, thanks.
And I Love Lucy.
Yeah, I love Lucy, yeah. I didn't grow up with that, but I watched it when I came to the States.
Great. Well, I'm glad you and your son got a chance to see that last
Yeah,
night.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
New York, Bart Connor.
Thank you.
What's kind of the expectation of tonight? I mean, here you are, Olympian, Olympic gold medalist, and Steve's got you commentating on a kind of a three-ring circus.
Yeah, it's fun actually because I've been involved with this show. Well, we've done this 9 years in a row, this particular show.
Mm-hmm.
But I think more than 20 years ago or so, I was one of the performers in the show.
Really?
Yeah, and so we did a version of it a few years back, and it really has always been a fun sort of collaboration that makes sense between these two sports, gymnastics and skating, because almost everywhere I go and people stop and want to talk to me, they say, oh, we love watching gymnastics in the summer games, and we love watching, skating in the winter games. And so over the years, this show has sort of transformed a little bit because it's a combination of gymnastics and skating, and of course then also when you bring the live music piece to it, it really makes it a fun event. So I'm grateful that Steve Disson has been doing this all these years, and it's really fun for us all to get together because we don't often see each other. You know, you stay in your own little silo, whatever sport you're involved in, and so to build this kind of collaboration is really fun.
You're probably one of the most recognizable male gymnasts in men's, certainly in American men's.
Thank you.
Do you feel that sense of kind of when you walk into a gymnasium and there's, oh my God, there's Bart Connor?
Well, I'm grateful that people still remember me. It's been, 28 years since I was in the Olympics, but I'm grateful for that. I stay out there a little bit. I'm doing television and I'm doing speaking engagements and some promotional activities, and I'm involved in a lot of charities. So I'm out there a lot. So I'm glad people remember me. But it's great. I'm also proud to celebrate this generation of athletes we have now. I mean, I was in London for 3 weeks this summer, working for sponsors, working for television, and of course, what a thrill to watch the Fierce Five, these women win the gold medal and represent the U.S. so well. And the men didn't have quite as good a luck, unfortunately, but they're young and they have another chance in 2016. So, yeah, it's fun to sort of be a part of that. We did our part a long time ago, but it's great to celebrate this generation now.
Do you find that, was your role model when you were growing up?
Well, interestingly enough, I grew up in the Chicago suburbs. I loved gymnastics, but I did every sport. I played Pop Warner football. I played hockey. I played wrestling, Little League baseball. We didn't have soccer, but we did everything. And it just seemed like gymnastics was right for me. So right away in the 70s, the stars in gymnastics on the world stage were the Japanese. So I just admired the Japanese gymnasts like Sukahara and Kasamatsu and Ken Motsu. I mean, these were the guys. So it's kind of funny for a kid growing up in the Chicago suburbs. I mean, I'm also cheering, for Dick Butkus and Ron Santo, and Ernie Banks. But at the same time, I knew about these Japanese and these stars in gymnastics also from the former Soviet Union. Because in the 70s and 60s, they just dominated the sport.
You took my question away. Cubs or White Sox?
Cubs, northwest suburbs. So, but it's funny. People, if you don't know Chicago or Chicagoans, you don't get that question. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
I travel the globe, and people say, "Where are you from?" I say, "Chicago." It's Cubs or Sox, and you got to commit. You can't be, I guess it's probably the Yankees and the Mets. I'm guessing it's the same thing. But anyway, yeah, I'm a Cubs fan.
Yeah. So this is an Ernie Banks, Ron Santo, Billy Williams. That's your time frame?
That's my group, right? Yeah.
Oh, gosh, and it's been a while. In fact, they're making this story up about how the Mayan calendar has been extended for 4,000 years, and they assume that'll be another 4,000 for the Cubs. This was on national news.
That's about right, I guess so, right? Because the world was supposed to end, or it's coming to an end in a couple of days.
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
Yeah,
so I'm glad they got the show in here. When you sit down and you talk to the young gymnasts and they're looking for Bart Connor advice, that Connorisms, what is it that you really tell them?
Well, it's kind of funny. They don't ask for my advice anymore. I'm so far removed from them. But it's interesting. We do have a gymnastics school in Norman, Oklahoma. We have 1,463 students. It's a big program.
Wow.
And I don't coach there. I'm more an administrator and a cheerleader. But this year I started coaching a little bit because we have a 6-year-old son and he's interested in gymnastics, and he said, would I coach him? So I'm in there a couple of days a week. And it is really fun working with those kids and trying to get them to love it, to be passionate about it, to have fun with it. So I want to make sure kids are having fun, because oftentimes I think it's too easy to get so focused on results and picking a single sport and specializing in a single sport at too early of an age. And so I think kids should have a broad range of opportunities. And so our son, we'll see how it works. But I'm 54 with a 6-year-old, so I'm just starting this journey. But he's played soccer and tennis and gymnastics and martial arts and music, and I just want to expose him to a lot of things. But at the end of the day, you got to be passionate about it if you're going to be successful. I loved gymnastics. I just knew that's where I belonged, because it was like a high-tech playground with swings and bars and trampolines. I mean, it was just so much fun. I just belonged in there, and I knew it. So it wasn't hard for me to do the work. If you're passionate about it, the work is not that hard.
Was it Nadia's song or Nadia that drew you to Nadia Comaneci?
Well, I mean, the whole world fell in love with Nadia at the same time, of course. Mostly because not only was she adorable and she was amazing, most of the guys were like, wow, how come she can do that and we can't? I mean, she was better than all the guys, mostly. And and she was mysterious because she didn't have much to say, and I found that interesting. So I met her actually 3 months prior to the Montreal Olympics in Madison Square Garden at the American Cup, which we both won. It was the centennial year, and It was a competition that we both won. She doesn't remember me that day at all, but 3 months later she went on to win, you know, those Olympic medals and score her first perfect 10. So it took me a lot of years to chase her down after that, because of course she went back to Romania and we didn't see much of her for a long time till she defected from Romania and came to the United States. So I reached out a hand to offer to help when she came here. And she came in the fall of '89, and I guess we started hanging around each other in 1990. And she moved to Oklahoma, where we live now, in 1991, and we've been married since '96. So, yeah, we've been married 16 years, and we've been together over 20.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
Because you've got to be known that, I mean, you're the power couple in gymnastics. I mean, my God, Bart Carter. I feel sorry for your son.
Yeah, well, you know, that's why I haven't been too insistent on him doing gymnastics. If he wants to do it, I think it's a great foundation for all sports. You just think of the motor skill development and the balance and the strength and the flexibility. But I don't want to push him into it. If he wants to do it, that's fine. But yeah, because obviously at some point, you know, one day I picked him up at school, and all of the kids in his school go to our gymnastics academy in our little town. And I picked him up and he jumped in the car. He goes, "Daddy, did you know you and Mom are famous?" And it's just cute that he's kind of dealing with that a little bit. But yeah, if he wants to do gymnastics, great. But I don't want to push him into it either.
Yeah. What do you see yourself in 5 years from now? I mean, you've got this wonderfully successful academy. Do you expect ever to do something more national, or do you have such a reputation that you're happy where you're
Yeah,
at?
I mean, in terms of the academy, I mean, it's our core business in Oklahoma. But we're in lots of things. You know, I work as a broadcaster. The biggest event we've been working on the last few years is the Bart and Nadia Sports and Health Festival. And this is in our community, and it's a $500,000 event for us. It's a big event, but we try to inspire kids to take ownership of their health and wellness through fitness, fun, free fitness and fun. And because that's a big issue in Oklahoma, our kids are not as healthy as they need to be and don't eat right, and we just need to get them engaged again. So that's what we're working hard to do. But we have a broadcasting career. We publish a magazine called International Gymnast Magazine, which still we ship around the world. We have a small factory. We make gymnastics accessories and supplies, hand guards, tumbling shoes, wristbands, and stuff. So everything we do is still kind of connected to gymnastics. And then we're quite involved with our charities. I do a lot of work for Special Olympics. I'm the vice chair of the International Board of Directors, and I'm all over the world with that. I'll be in Korea next month at the Special Olympics World Winter Games. But then Nadia is involved with the Laureus Sport for Good Foundation, and we're both involved with the Muscular Dystrophy Association. So, yeah, we're involved in a lot of things that keep us out there.
I don't want to keep you much longer. What's the big difference now between when you were doing gymnastics and today? You see the guys.
Well, on a technical level, you know, the gymnastic equipment has changed a lot. So the mats are springier, the bars are springier, everything's just a little bit more higher and, you know, more extreme.
Right.
So, you know, for us to do one strength move on the rings was great, maybe two, but now they do 6 or 7. For us to do one release move on the high bar was pretty spectacular, and now you got to do 3 or 4. So it's wilder, it's more extreme, it's probably a little more dangerous. I admire the kids what they're doing now. It just blows my mind what they can do. But that's on the technical side, and then on the other side, I think that there's probably there's a little more at stake. You know, we were purely amateurs when we competed. There was no money to be made. That was never part of it. Now, you know, some of these kids have a chance to be, you know, Olympic stars, and that changes the game a little bit because there is a little money involved, or for some, a lot. And, you know, there's agents and there's managers and there's all other things. And so I'm proud of the kids. I don't resent it. I just think that, you know, our era was a little bit different. You know, the whole concept of being a professional athlete in the Olympics was a no-no back in the 80s and 70s. Now, of course, after the Dream Team in 1992, you know, it's wide open. So, but I just think it's pretty remarkable. I have great admiration for what the athletes are doing now, and nobody's a bigger fan of gymnastics when I go to the Olympics than me.
It's terrific. I'm so thrilled. Welcome to Chautauqua County.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, Bart.
February 15th, 1961. It was the blackest day in American skating history. The entire U.S. World Team, 18 skaters as well as officials and coaches, died when a Sabena airline jet crashed in the countryside just outside Brussels. No one survived. They were on their way to the World Championships, which were canceled. It was a team of youth and great promise that America lost that day, and it was many years before American skating began to recover. But in 1964, out of the ashes, rose a talented young skater named Peggy Fleming.
Never competed in the national seniors before. 15-year-old daughter of a pressman on a Los Angeles, California newspaper.
Since this girl is only 15, she has all her jumps, she has the power. All she needs now is maturity and a little more experience. You can really imagine 4 years from now in the 1968 Olympics, she could probably win a gold medal for us.
Well, Carol Heiss was right, and winning the gold medal certainly changed my life and put a wonderful end to my amateur career. But you know, looking back on all of my years of competing, I remember the 1968 National Championships right before the Games as being one of the most relaxed and fulfilling performances of all.
Watch this combination. First a spread eagle. Now watch her go right up into a double axel out of the jump and land in another spread eagle. Watch this combination coming up. The first, here's the second, and the third. And this is the end of a 4-minute program. She has really been put... Now,
And now they stand and applaud emphatically in Philadelphia for Miss Peggy Fleming.
a really beautiful performance. You know, it's effortless, and that's its beauty.
Personable, lovely, and is going to be difficult to beat, hopefully, at Grenoble.
Coming up now is the
And
jump
this was Grenoble.
last year at double axel. We've already seen it. Here it is.
In 4 years, Peggy had blossomed into one of the sport's truly gifted artists, who also possessed the unique ability to excel at the compulsory figures.
Dashing, beautiful, comely, in short, she's Peggy Fleming, coming into your homes live and in color via the satellite.
For 5 straight years, she had won the American title, and twice in a row at this point, the world title. She was completely dominating her sport, so much so that even though this was not to be her best performance, she still won the gold medal.
The pressure of the Olympics was enormous, and I was relieved it was finally over. It was such a proud moment standing on the podium. For me, skating fulfilled my love for sports, music, and dance.
Started when I was 9 years old and was in 2 Olympic Games, one when I was 15 in 1964 in Innsbruck, and a really good one in 1968 when I was 19. I won.
When you were growing up, was there role models? Was Carol Heiss? Was that?
I loved Carol. I thought she was a wonderful role model for the sport. She was a beautiful young girl, and you know, you wanted to be like her. But I also looked up to dancers, to the ballets, and to I loved music. So I played the violin before I started skating, and so I was a tomboy. And I loved music and dance, and skating was everything wrapped up in one.
You a Baryshnikov fan?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
He was wonderful, and Peter Martin, and I loved the effortless and the costuming and the staging and the whole thing.
Were your parents involved in this? Were they, had they been skaters, gymnasts?
No. I'm number 2 of 4 girls,
Mhm.
and my dad was a newspaper pressman, and my mom was a housewife, and my dad took us all skating when I was 9 years old, and I just kept going back, and my sisters went on to do other things. But it was just a natural sport for me, and the timing of when I was introduced to it. I think when a sport to a child comes easily because you've done other things, you're apt to stay with it because it's easy. Every time I went back, I got better, and I went, well, that's fun.
Yeah.
And if it was a struggle, I probably wouldn't have gone back.
Your mother was a force.
Oh, absolutely.
And to the point of, did you rebel at any point? Did you sort of say, Mom, enough, don't push?
No, my dad was an ex-Marine, so it's like when you were told to do something or committed to something, you stayed with it and you did it and you did what you were told. And I think, when you're a competitor, you're in the pleasing business, and being a kid, you're kind of in the pleasing business too. I respected my parents, but my mom was the one that was there at most of my practices. She would sit in the coal arena, and I think she was just making sure she was getting her money's worth.
Yeah.
But I didn't goof around at the rink. I just went and trained and then left and had a normal life.
1961 was sort of a tipping point in the skating world. What do you recall about that time period?
Well, I was 12 years old when the 1961 World Figure Skating team was killed in a plane crash going to the World Championships. And it was devastating to our sport. It killed my coach, was on that flight, and it killed all of my role models that I would have had, but it also killed all of our top skating coaches in the U.S. So there were many layers to the devastation of that crash. And, I was 12, I was skating, I took from another coach, and never really thought of going to the Olympics or wherever. I just loved getting better, and I loved competing. I didn't feel like it was the pressure on me to, bring skating back up again. But it just happened for me.
You did. You became the original it girl.
Yeah, but you don't know that when you're it. You just, keep focused, and I think my mom and my dad and my sisters kept me really grounded and just focused on skating as something that I did, but I was just one of the other girls. At home, I went to public school, all of that. So.
64, when you made the Olympics, first, that was quite an experience in it for you. What was your impressions of just being out there representing the United States of America?
Oh, it was really cool. Just to say you made the Olympic team. I was 15 years old. I hadn't even been out of California very much. I didn't have a warm coat or anything, never had a passport. So I had to do all this. I'd never been to Europe. And the Olympics is a whole lot. It's such a big event, and it's really hard to focus. But I didn't have the pressure of, placing on the medal stand. I was just enjoying the experience of being there, and I came in 6th place, my first international competition. So it made me kind of think that it's a possibility.
As the lead up to the 68 Olympics, you won virtually everything in the competitions, those 67, so the expectations were quite high for Peggy Fleming.
Right. It was a lot of pressure, but they were all good lessons, and you don't get thrown into the Olympics, just one day to the next. There's many layers of stress and expectations that led up to that. And you're always testing yourself of, like, what am I really made of? Can I do this?
Yeah.
And I was still kind of questioning it a little bit for the Olympics, because you never know what's going to happen. If you're going to get sick, or if the nerves will freak you out, because the Olympics are very different than the World Championships or the Nationals, and you don't know how you're going to react until you step out and do your performance. And so it's like, okay. I always thought to myself that I will just pretend I'm at practice and block out everybody else, and that's what I did. Thank goodness, and all that muscle memory kicks in if you practice enough.
Now, they had schools then, right? School, the figures were up at school
The
figures.
school figures, they were 60% of the score.
Today, that's just an amazing percentage. My daughter went through that school, I was going to remember, was watching all that. But that is, because it's such a high level, how much time did you really spend 60%? In a normal practice and 60-40? Did you find yourself doing that?
Pretty much. I loved the school figures. They were artwork to me.
Yeah.
And I would intimidate my competitors by making my school figures look beautiful and traced and clean and lined up. So it was more than just school figures for me. It was like a work of art and intimidation of being competitive. So I had fun, but an audience that watches somebody do school figures, it's like, watching paint dry. And for television, they can't even film it because it doesn't show up.
Right.
Because the ice is so white.
I forget now, but at the end of the schools, were you first place?
I was 89 points ahead of the second girl.
I remember you.
So all I really had to do is stand up and get through my performance. But then you always think in the back of your mind, well, something's going to happen. But it didn't.
What'd you skate to?
I skated to Tchaikovsky and Samson and Delilah and I think the William Tell Overture. So it had, a powerful beginning and a very soft, flowing, lot of edges in the middle, and then in the end put in some more jumps. So I picked the music, I think when I was at home, I was ironing or something, and my mom, kept playing all this music, and all of a sudden this music came on, and it would like startled me. I went, oh, it's exciting.
Yeah.
So I thought, that's what I wanted to skate to, and that's what it did to the audience. It made them kind of like sit up and take notice and got their attention. And now my husband uses it on me. Anytime he really want to get my attention, he'll start, the beat of that song, and it does get my attention still.
Do you watch it?
I have, not recently, but there's, when I do speeches and stuff, we have an intro video, and so I see the Olympics when I watch that.
So in your mind's eye, you could do the Olympic routine right now?
No, I don't remember it. I have to watch the video. My husband did a party for me for my 25th anniversary of winning quite a few years ago, and he said, we did a skating party, and he said, well, I want you to do your slow part of your Olympic routine. I'm like going, what? So I had to get the video out and put it at the side of the ring to remember what the choreography was and where I was on the rink, and it did come back. But it's hard to remember all those routines.
Your trainer, who you're very fond of, Carlo
Fassi, was my coach.
And was he also your choreographer?
No, he wasn't. It was actually Bob Paul. He was a pair skater, and he won the Olympics in 1960 in Squaw Valley with Barbara Wagner, and he was from Canada, and he was my choreographer for pretty much my whole career. And he really knew me, and what was interesting, he knew how to make my skating come out, and the edges, and he choreographed to the emotion of the music, not necessarily the beat. And I see that in skaters a lot, when I was commentating, because you want to draw the judges, you want to draw the audience, you want to draw people into
the emotion of what you're doing, it's very powerful when you skate to that other beat and finish off that note. And I think I learned that from my musical background, from the violin.
The artistry aspect of skating, which was very prominent during your time period, seems to have sort of given away to just, I don't want to say raw athleticism, but jumps and higher jumps and more spins and rotations.
Yeah.
Do you miss that? I mean, do you think that's a...
Oh, I miss it tremendously. I think the judging system right now is all about math, and it's all about doing a lot of busy things, and you don't get emotionally involved. I mean, it's really difficult to choreograph a routine when you have to just add up points. And some of the moves they get extra points, but it doesn't mean anything, and it's not pretty, and it just doesn't go with the flow. So I think that's, it'll evolve. I think our sport has always gotten better, and they've changed things along the way. We're just going through growing pains right now, I think. But the skaters are wonderful. I love Jeremy Abbott, how he moves on the ice, and Alyssa Sisson is gorgeous, and Ashley Wagner's finally getting her consistency in her head. It's not just about being an athlete. It's the big, huge picture of, do you have it in here? Do you have it physically, emotionally? And do you have the right team together? Do you have the right costume together, the choreography, the music? But there's many, many, many layers.
As you see some of these tonight, do they talk to you? Do you get calls? Do you get referrals? Do people come up and say, Peggy?
Not very often do they ever ask me advice. A few people have, and it's fun. It really is. But I had been the commentator for so many years, so they weren't as apt to come up to me because I was always busy watching the practices and thinking of what to say. But over the years, I've had a few, and they've been pretty successful.
You've done many years with Dick Button. Your relationship with him wasn't always as warm and comfortable and easy as it's been recently.
Yeah, he's like being with your professor all the time, because he's always testing you, and I respect him tremendously. He's like the father of our sport. He's been there to push you to be your best, and he helped me kind of do that with my commentary. It's like, okay, we talk about things that were kind of controversial, and he says, well, you agree with me, well, why don't you say it on the air? And I go, well, I have to think about it so I can say it in a nice way. And he would just say it, and it just seemed a little rough, but I mean, we knew the same things and really thought a lot of the same things, but I just had to soften it, because we were talking about teenagers. And that's a very vulnerable age, and you want to do some, constructive criticism and not destructive. But being honest, when you're a competitor, you want somebody to be honest with you.
Dick, I remember the passage in the book where your mother had heard Dick comment on your skating, and she sort of took a slow burn, or maybe a fast burn, I don't know, which affected you for a while.
Yeah, it did. Because it was really more her relationship, and she, took all those words differently. But when a coach tells you you did that wrong, that's not bad, really. It's like, I want to be better. I want to do it again. And so, our relationship really evolved over the years, and he's a sweet guy. He's a little rough around the edges, but he's so intelligent, and he is so passionate about our sport. I don't think there's anybody else in the sport that is more passionate than Dick Button.
I don't know if you announced it, but clearly the Olympics was just about your last amateur event, wasn't it?
No, the World Championships 2 weeks later in Geneva. And actually I skated better there than I did at the Olympics, because the nerves were gone, kind of.
Right.
And I felt like, oh, okay, I can do this. I have the confidence of being the Olympic champion now. Okay. So you just stand up a little straighter and you skate differently. Because I was kind of a different person, I guess, after that. 2 weeks later, it's like, how much different can that be? But it's a feeling of accomplishment, and it's empowering to be able to focus under that kind of pressure. And all these things, like the shows that we're doing here in Jamestown, these are all layers of experience and learning that, you know, layers you as to the performer you end up being.
You, first of all, what do you think of Jamestown? This is your first kind of look at this arena and skating facility?
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, beautiful countryside. I didn't get out all that much, but I looked in the magazines, and it looks like a beautiful place in the summer. And I heard about what you do in the winter. You make a ice castle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't see a picture of that. I'd love to see a picture of that. And they bring in great big ice blocks, or do they cut it out of the lake?
Cut out of the ice, out of the lake.
Wow. I mean, that must be absolutely spectacular.
And they light it all up, and it's really,
yeah.
It's beautiful.
But when I was reading the magazines, I thought, wow, this is like a community that does a lot of interesting things, of art and speeches and music, and it's fun.
You would have fun here during the summer with all the artistry that goes on, all the education at Chautauqua Institution.
Right.
It's a Peggy Fleming type place.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I painted all day yesterday.
I saw it. It was terrific.
I thought, well, there's not a whole lot to do. I don't have to go to rehearsal. I just have to go to a production meeting at 5, and I had all day, so I brought a painting I was working on, so I just got to do that all day long, and I finished it. So it's a feeling of accomplishment, you know, going on a trip to work, but I also got to do something for myself.
You were and are the it girl to bring America to the forefront again in ice skating. I mean, do you feel that mantle today? I mean, and do people remember it, frankly?
Well, I think, I didn't feel that really, but I think it was the timing that was going on in the country and in the world. There was the Vietnam War and all the drugs and all of that, and here I was, you know, coming from, you know, a very simple background. We didn't have that much money, and you know, for, you know, someone young to accomplish something like I did, I think helped the country have hope for the youth. And I just came in at the right time, and color TV helped too. And so there were a lot of other things going on that made the impact of my Olympic win in '68. It wasn't just me. It was about what was going on all over.
Right.
And so I keep that in perspective of what I accomplished and how people remember me. But it's not just skating how they remember me. I think there's the emotion of what was happening in the world.
I know folks of my era, you know, just seeing you on those various Sports Illustrated and all the national publications, you were clearly an inspiration to an awful lot of folks. So congratulations, Don. And I know you're an inspiration on so many other fronts. I mean, whether it was with the breast cancer that you went through, then how difficult was it to sort of go public with that?
Well, it's real personal.
Yeah.
And we always tried to keep our personal life out of it, but I had a good story to tell people because I caught it early.
Right.
And, you know, I could give hope to other women that procrastinated about getting their doctor's appointment every year, or their mammogram, or their self-breast exam. I had just had a mammogram and a checkup just 5 months earlier. I found it myself. And it's just being aware. And if you catch most diseases early, in most cases, it's really treatable today. The advancements that we have made in medicine over the years is just incredible. So I think, you know, we see ourselves every day, and we can feel how we feel every day. But if something, follow your instincts, you know when something doesn't seem right, and get a professional opinion. Don't go on the internet trying to diagnose yourself, or, you know, have a friend tell you. Go to a professional and get a professional opinion.
In the sport as it is today, Would you like to be more involved? Is there a Peggy Fleming's, like Carol Heiss sort of came, she got out of it, and then she's kind of worked her way all of a sudden kind of into the training, took one skater, next thing in piano and stuff like that. Is that you?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I skate with our grandsons, but they snowboard and dirt bike race and, you know, do a lot of other things. Actually, two of them do gymnastics. So, you know, we go and watch their practices and soccer games and baseball and all of that. But I don't see myself coaching or anything. I just want to enjoy my husband and our kids and our grandkids, and we don't get these years back.
Right.
So I've given a lot of years to the sport of skating, and I still love it, but I need my life now, and I'm very grateful that we're all healthy, and we're still challenged by testing ourselves to do new things. So I'm not finished yet. I'm growing up, but I'm loving life, and I love what I've accomplished, and my most proud thing is my family.
I love the smile on your face that you radiate. Tonight we're going to see gymnasts and we're going to see ice skaters. We're going to see young bands. In the world of, they're mixing tonight, gymnasts and ice skaters. What are the similarities and dissimilarities?
Well, it's all the music and athletics together. Skating and gymnastics is the same thing. And, you know, being in the spotlight, you're one person out there being judged. So they know the stress of that. And actually, the two sports look at each other and admire each other. They just go, wow, you can do that. And, you know, to see it with their own eyes and, you know, next to their mats. And so this is a really, really fun show. This is one of my favorite of the Dissin shows.
Have you worked with Steve in the past?
Actually, I've performed in a show many years ago, and I skated a number, and then I can do a backflip on the mat.
Really?
We did a number that we were, I think, like a coffee shop waitress. I was a waitress, and I just had, I don't know if I had heels on or something, but the gymnast taught me how to do a backflip, and this guy flipped me over his head, and I landed. And we did all this dance routine. I had so much fun.
Wow.
But we worked on it for like a week, and it was just nice to be a part of the whole show. Just not just skating, but being kind of a gymnast.
So this is, I could just see the gymnasts the last couple of days have been with the ice skaters connecting quite a bit. I mean, it's like they really don't have a chance to see each other.
They respect each other.
Yeah.
And they're both the most beautiful sports to watch, and I think that they are the most loved and they are the most watched of all the Olympic sports.
Speaking of watching and loving, they love the females in both sports. Is there any room for the males in this at all?
Oh yeah, I think so. But it just takes a special person, a special performance, a special personality and style. But, you know, they are incredible. Jeremy Abbott, you're going to just, I love how he moves. He skates to the emotion of the music, like I was saying. But he's mentally, he freaks out when the pressure comes on, unfortunately. I wish we could just flip a little switch in his head. But the choreography, the edges, and how he skates are phenomenal. I love it. I love to watch him.
Who's the next Peggy Fleming?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
I know they talk about Ashley Wagner.
She's a little bit more athletic style than I was. I mean, I wanted to be an elegant athlete. I didn't want to look like I was working very hard, but I wanted to, you know, jump really high and, you know, but be strong, but graceful, and the music was really important. So it's just a combination, but they'll come along.
Well, when I saw you and Nadia together, it brings to mind, you know, so much of again, two superstars, one place, one time here. I'm thrilled you're in Jamestown. Do you work with her much?
No, just on this show, and then we've done some things with the Women's Sports Foundation. I was on that board for about 7 years when they first started out. It's still going strong, so we've, seen each other through those times, and they're a great couple. Bart and Nadia, and they have their little boy here, Dylan. He's 6.5, and they always take him along. He's like, he has endurance.
Yeah.
This kid can, be here at rehearsal all day and be there at the party till midnight. He's got the endurance.
The impacts on your career, which have been so successful, you've talked about, in your book, your mom and Carla. Could you elaborate a little bit on your mother? If you just had to step back and say, here's what she meant to me.
Oh, I don't think I could have done it without her. She kept me on the straight and narrow. She kept the consistency. She kept me centered. She knew the buttons to push when I got nervous and how to release that. She'd always maybe make me cry. She'd pick a fight. And once I cried, then my nerves would kind of like, okay, I'm going to show her. I'd be mad. So when I get mad, I get more competitive. And she knew that. She knew that. And that's how I react even today. That's just my chemistry. My sisters aren't like that. And they just go, oh, okay, I quit. No, I'm like going, no, you can't do that to me. I'll show you that you're wrong. So she was there to guide me and shield me, because back then we didn't have, all the managers and agents and all that. It was just a simple time. So she shielded me from a whole lot so that I could focus. And I think more athletes today in the Olympics need to be shielded to a certain extent, so that they can focus on what they're there to do. But the media and the Olympics has gotten so big that, it's like a TV show now. And it's really an athletic event, a stressful one. But, those layers build you and maybe makes you more competitive, that you can shut that off, that pressure of the media and the nerves of the Olympics. So, they can handle it, and they are. But that's what athletes today have to do.
Was Carlo the right person at the right time?
Oh, absolutely. He was the right personality, funny. I never really understood every single word he said to me, but
did he have an Italian accent?
Oh, he used his hands a lot, and I kind of knew what he meant.
Yeah.
But he was fun, he was interesting, and had a normal life outside of skating. And he loved history, so when we would travel, we would go to the museums and walk around the cities, and I got to see where I was, and that helped my nerves kind of, shed them a little bit.
Right. He died at a time which, you commentating in the Olympics?
No, we were at the World Championships in Lausanne, Switzerland. And he died the day before we went live on the air. And I had just walked up the hill the night before with him, and he was struggling, getting out of breath. And he said, yeah, I need to work out more. And he had a heart attack the next afternoon at lunch. I had just left that practice that he was at, and then I heard they were staying at the same hotel. So I immediately went down and saw his wife Krista, and she was just so strong through that whole thing. I was just, it was like losing my father all over again.
Right. You were asked, or I don't know if you were asked or you did ask to sort of announce it on TV. How tough was that?
Oh, huge.
Yeah.
And I couldn't have done it without our host, was Terry Gannon. And I just had to say the words and not think about it. Of course, and he held my hand, and he made me strong, and I got through it, and then they just panned the camera to him. But they were like my second family. I mean, Dick and Terry and all those people helped me through some very difficult times. And I don't know, it's hard to lose people. But, you know, it's part of life.
Yeah, exactly.
We're all gonna.
Well, absolutely.
We're all gonna.
Are these skill sets that you've developed, and you're talking about, you know, day in, day out, practice, getting tutoring, digesting all of that information, and obviously creating an action on the ice. How do you impart that to your kids? I mean, do your children really know what you accomplished?
They do now. I mean, our older son's 35 and the younger one's 24. They've never been under that kind of pressure of competition. I think they understand now. I don't know if the grandkids totally understand yet. But whenever I take them skating, they want me to do something fancy, go spinning. So they love that and love to see me skate fast, and I take them around with me. It's fun, but the kids had a normal life at home in California, and my work was always away. But my husband was always home with them, and we had really good housekeepers that kept the kids really centered, and their life was normal when I was gone. And then when I came home, I was totally mom, because I didn't have to work. I just, carried on my normal life.
Do you recommend at all the ice shows for the various athletes, that skaters, they get done with sort of their competitive careers? You did some ice shows.
Oh, God, for 20-something years.
Is that a logical progression? Or?
That was the only job that was available back then. When I won, my first job was an NBC hour special of my own.
Yeah, I remember that.
So, I don't know, I just went with the flow. And then I joined the ice show, and I didn't have to do the whole tour, the 10-month tour. I did 7 months, 10 shows a week. That's character building, and it is not glamorous. And it's hard to keep yourself in shape. But you have to do it, and stay healthy and do the media. It was hard work. I'd look back on all that and I'm like, oh my God, how did I do all these things? But when you're young, I love the challenge. I love to, live up to the image, and it was good. I got paid to do my exercise.
Yeah.
So not too many people can have that in life.
Well, I've taken a lot of your time, Peggy, and this is...
Now I gotta get back to
I know. Thank
get
you.
our little cards, but yeah.
This is outstanding.
Oh,
It's
good.
a thrill for me.
Oh, thank you. It's
And
nice
welcome to
be here.
Jamestown, New York.
Thank you.
Thank you.